What if the ancient temples we admire today weren't just built for the people of their time, but for us, and for those who will come long after us? Picture this: centuries from now, archaeologists sifting through the ruins of our world stumble upon structures that seem to whisper secrets across the ages. These aren't just crumbling monuments of forgotten gods or lost kingdoms. They're time capsules, meticulously designed to communicate with the future. This is the incredible idea behind time-traveling temples, ancient sites that may hold messages intentionally encoded for civilizations yet to come. Think about the pyramids of Egypt, the towering ziggurats of Mesopotamia, or the intricate stone circles scattered across the globe. What if their alignments to the stars, their hidden chambers, and their cryptic symbols weren't just for ceremony or worship? What if they were meant to be decoded, like a puzzle left behind by ancestors who knew one day someone would look back and wonder? The more we study these sites, the more we uncover clues that suggest they were built with a purpose far beyond what we've assumed. From precise astronomical alignments that track celestial events thousands of years into the future, to architectural features that seem to encode mathematical or even prophetic knowledge, these temples might be speaking to us in a language we're only beginning to understand. Now imagine you're that future archaeologist, brushing dust off a stone tablet or scanning a chamber with technology we can't yet fathom. What would you find? Would the symbols on the walls reveal warnings, wisdom, or even greetings from the past? This video is a journey into that extraordinary possibility. We'll explore how ancient builders might have embedded messages in their designs, how future scientists could unravel them, and what it would mean if we discovered that these temples were always meant to be bridges across time. So settle in, because we're about to uncover the hidden dialogue between the past and the future, hidden in plain sight within the stones of these time-traveling temples. The pyramids of Giza don't just point to the stars, they seem to whisper across time. When you stand beneath their shadow, it's hard to shake the feeling that these monuments weren't just built for pharaohs or priests, but for someone or something far in the future. Take their alignment with Orion's belt, a celestial configuration so precise that it mirrors the stars as they appeared over 4,000 years ago. But here's the astonishing part: that alignment isn't just a snapshot of the past. The pyramid's layout also mirrors the constellation's position in the year 26,000, as if the builders were leaving a breadcrumb trail through the ages. Then there's Angkor Wat, the sprawling Cambodian temple complex that doubles as a cosmic calendar. Its corridors and towers align with solstices and equinoxes with eerie accuracy, casting shadows that trace the sun's path like a stone sundial built to last millennia. But what if these weren't just tools for ancient astronomers? What if they were meant to be rediscovered, like a clock set to chime long after its makers were gone? The deeper you look, the more these sites feel like puzzles with pieces deliberately scattered across time. Even the materials themselves tell a story. The granite blocks of Egypt's temples, the magnetic anomalies in Peru's Sacsayhuaman, these aren't just feats of engineering. They're choices. Ancient builders selected stones that resist erosion, positioned them in ways that defy natural decay, and embedded patterns that only reveal themselves under certain light or at specific times of year. It's as if they knew future explorers would arrive with tools and questions, ready to decode what rituals alone couldn't explain. Of course, not everyone agrees. Some scholars argue these features are purely symbolic, tied to spiritual beliefs rather than interstellar postcards. But the more we uncover, the harder it becomes to dismiss the parallels. From the Mayan observatories that track Venus's cycles with pinpoint accuracy to the hidden acoustic chambers in Malta's megalithic temples, structures that amplify sound in ways their builders couldn't possibly have used, it's clear these sites hold layers of intention we're only beginning to peel back. So were ancient architects thinking like futurists? Did they carve their knowledge into stone, trusting that time itself would deliver their message? Whether you see these temples as sacred spaces or celestial time capsules, one thing's certain: their secrets aren't just buried in the past, they're waiting in plain sight, etched into walls and aligned with stars for the day we finally learn to listen. Ancient civilizations didn't just build temples, they constructed libraries in stone. Think about the Great Pyramid's base perimeter divided by its height, a calculation that gives us pi accurate to 4 decimal places. That's no coincidence, it's a mathematical signature, carefully etched into the architecture as if to say, we understood this, and we want you to know we did. The Maya took it further, carving entire calendars into their temples that predicted eclipses and planetary movements centuries in advance. These weren't just decorative motifs. They were survival strategies, ways to preserve essential knowledge in a world without hard drives or paper, where empires could vanish and languages fade. Consider how they did it. The Egyptians didn't rely on fragile scrolls to pass down the secrets of astronomy or engineering. They baked those lessons into the angles of corridors, the alignment of shafts pointing to specific stars, even the resonance frequencies of hidden chambers. The Maya encoded their celestial observations in stepped pyramids, where the number of tiers corresponded to cycles of Venus. These weren't arbitrary choices. They were fail-safes, ensuring that even if every book burned and every oral tradition died, the knowledge would remain, waiting in the geometry of the stones themselves. But why go to such lengths? Imagine you're a high priest or royal architect watching your civilization flourish. You know history is cyclical, dynasties rise and fall, languages evolve into obscurity, and even the grandest cities crumble. So you devise a solution, build your wisdom into structures so massive, so precise, that only a society advanced enough to measure them could unlock their secrets. It's like leaving a message in a bottle, but instead of paper, you use a mountain. Today, we're beginning to crack that code. LiDAR scans reveal hidden chambers in pyramids, while algorithms decode glyph clusters that once seemed random. Some researchers believe the Nazca lines, those massive desert drawings visible only from the air, might be part of this same legacy, a way to say, look up. Pay attention. Even the stories etched into temple walls take on new meaning when read as cross-generational memos. The Hindu epic of the Mahabharata describes advanced weapons and flying machines, while Sumerian tablets detail celestial events with scientific precision. Were these just myths or encrypted textbooks? The most haunting possibility, some of these messages might be warnings. The Maya left records of climate shifts and societal collapse. Easter Island's Moai statues, with their backs to the sea, could be silent sentinels of ecological lessons hard-learned. If future archaeologists piece together these patterns, they might find not just equations and star charts, but urgent memos from the past. This is how we fell. Don't repeat our mistakes, so the next time you walk through an ancient ruin, look closer. Those worn carvings and aligned stones might be more than art or ritual. They could be the closest thing we have to a time machine, a way for the past to reach across centuries and whisper directly to us. And if we're listening, we might just hear what they've been trying to say all along. Symbolic architecture isn't just about beauty, it's a language without words, carved into the very bones of these ancient sites. Take Angkor Wat's sprawling bas-reliefs, where thousands of intricate scenes stretch across temple walls like a stone tapestry. These aren't mere decorations, they're chapters in a visual epic depicting everything from celestial battles to the daily rhythms of a vanished empire. But what if these carvings were more than records of the past? What if they were left as deliberate clues, a way for future generations to reconstruct not just events, but entire worldviews? Now picture Stonehenge, its massive stones arranged with precision to frame the sunrise on the summer solstice. This isn't just a ceremonial stage, it's a celestial calculator, a way to mark time across millennia. The builders didn't need written instructions to explain its purpose. The architecture itself is the manual, a silent teacher waiting for students advanced enough to ask the right questions. And that's the genius of symbolic design. It transcends language. Even if the words of these civilizations fade, their stones keep speaking. Future archaeologists might decode these messages in ways we can't yet fathom. Imagine AI systems trained to analyze temple carvings like a Rosetta Stone, cross-referencing symbols across cultures to reveal shared myths or forgotten connections. A pattern on a Mayan stela could echo a motif in Egyptian hieroglyphs, hinting at exchanges we never documented. Or consider acoustic mapping revealing hidden harmonies in a temple's layout frequencies that resonate with sacred chants or celestial cycles. These aren't random quirks of design. They're layers of meaning stacked like pages in a book, each one waiting to be read, but the most tantalizing possibility. These symbols might not just describe the past, they could predict the future. The Hindu temple of Konark, shaped like a colossal chariot, encodes astronomical knowledge so precise it tracks solar events centuries ahead of its time. Was this meant as a gift to descendants, a way to say, we saw what comes next? From the zodiac carvings of Dendera to the labyrinthine floor patterns in Gothic cathedrals, these structures seem designed to challenge and enlighten anyone patient enough to study them. So the next time you see an ancient pillar or a weathered fresco, look beyond the surface. Every curve, every alignment, every shadow cast at noon could be part of a conversation, one that started thousands of years ago and isn't finished yet. The real question isn't whether these temples hold secrets, it's whether we're finally ready to listen. Celestial alignments in ancient temples aren't just impressive, they're deliberate. The Temple of Karnak, for example, doesn't merely face the horizon. Its axis aligns perfectly with the winter solstice sunrise, flooding the inner sanctum with light on the shortest day of the year. But here's what's fascinating. This wasn't a one-time spectacle for priests or pharaohs. The alignment repeats like clockwork year after year, century after century. It's as if the builders designed a beacon that would keep flashing long after their civilization faded, a way to mark time for anyone who might later stand in that same sacred space. Then there's Chichen Itza's El Castillo, where the equinox sun transforms the pyramid staircase into a slithering serpent of shadow. This isn't just a trick of light, it's a meticulously engineered display, a celestial performance encoded into stone. The Maya didn't need telescopes or satellites to track planetary movements. They used architecture itself as their observatory, crafting structures that doubled as cosmic calendars. And the most compelling question isn't how they did it, but why. Were these alignments meant to guide future generations like breadcrumbs left in the stars? Modern technology is starting to uncover even deeper layers. Take Newgrange in Ireland, a prehistoric tomb older than the pyramids. Its narrow passage captures the winter solstice sunrise, illuminating the chamber for just 17 minutes a year. With LiDAR and 3D mapping, researchers have discovered that the entire mound is aligned not just to the sun, but to lunar cycles and possibly even specific stars. These aren't random choices. They're part of a grander pattern, a celestial code repeated across continents. From the sun temples of Peru to the star-aligned monoliths of Nabta Playa, these sites seem to share a silent dialogue, one written in the language of the cosmos. But what if these alignments are more than just calendars or rituals? Some researchers propose they're part of a global positioning system, a way to mark sacred geography tied to Earth's energy grids or magnetic fields. The Great Zimbabwe ruins, for instance, align with Orion's belt just like the pyramids of Giza, despite being separated by thousands of miles and centuries. Coincidence or evidence of a shared astronomical knowledge passed down through time? Even more intriguing, certain temples align with celestial events that wouldn't occur for millennia after their construction. The Temple of Mnajdra in Malta, for example, marks equinoxes with such precision that its builders would have needed to calculate the slow wobble of Earth's axis, a phenomenon we only confirmed with modern science. So were ancient architects mapping the heavens for us. Imagine future archaeologists with quantum computers or AI capable of simulating the night sky as it appeared 10,000 years ago. They might discover that these temples aren't just aligned to past or present stars, but to future celestial configurations, like a message in a bottle tossed into the cosmic ocean. Whether these alignments were meant as navigational aids, spiritual guides, or warnings encoded in stone, one thing's clear: the sky wasn't just their ceiling. It was their blueprint, and if we learn to read it, we might just find the past speaking directly to the future. Hidden chambers beneath ancient temples aren't just the stuff of legend. They might be the ultimate time capsules. Take the Great Sphinx of Giza, shrouded in whispers of a hidden hall of records buried deep beneath its pores. For centuries, explorers and scholars have speculated about what could lie in those sealed vaults. Metal tablets inscribed with lost wisdom, crystal libraries storing entire histories, or even biological archives encoded in DNA. These wouldn't just be relics of the past, they'd be messages deliberately preserved to outlast empires, climate shifts, even language itself. And with today's technology, we're closer than ever to uncovering them. Ground-penetrating radar has already revealed anomalies beneath the Sphinx voids and tunnels that defy conventional explanations. Quantum imaging, a cutting-edge tool that peers through solid stone like X-rays through flesh, could soon map these spaces in stunning detail. But why go to such lengths to hide knowledge? Imagine you're an ancient custodian of sacred truths, watching your civilization flourish but knowing all too well how easily knowledge can vanish. You wouldn't trust fragile scrolls or oral traditions to survive wars, floods, or the slow erosion of time. Instead, you'd bury your wisdom in the most durable materials imaginable: metals that resist corrosion, crystals that store data in light, or even biological codes etched into strands of DNA, waiting to be sequenced by future scientists. The Vedic texts of India speak of Akashic records, an eternal library of cosmic knowledge. Could these legends hint at real repositories hidden beneath temples, designed to endure millennia? The implications are staggering. In Turkey's Derinkuyu, an entire underground city stretches 8 stories deep, with ventilation shafts and water channels that suggest long-term planning. Was it just a refuge or a vault for preserving knowledge during catastrophes? Even more tantalizing are reports from Egypt's Temple of Hathor at Dendera, where walls depict what some interpret as advanced technology, objects resembling light bulbs or energy devices. If sealed chambers there held physical prototypes or blueprints, future archaeologists might uncover proof of scientific insights we thought were modern. And then there's the ultimate question: what if these hidden rooms aren't meant to be found by just anyone? The builders might have embedded triggers, astronomical alignments that open passages only during specific celestial events, or acoustic frequencies that resonate with hidden doorways. The Mayan temple of Palenque contains King Pakal's sarcophagus, its lid carved with an image eerily reminiscent of a spaceship. Below it, sonar has detected hollow spaces, fueling speculation of a tomb within a tomb, a nested puzzle for future solvers. Whether these chambers hold spiritual secrets, scientific breakthroughs, or warnings from the past, one thing's certain: the ancients understood time differently than we do. They built not just for their era, but for epochs they'd never see. And if we're the generation that finally unlocks these vaults, we might discover that the greatest treasures of antiquity weren't gold or jewels, but knowledge carefully buried, patiently waiting, and meant for us all along. The stones of Malta's hypogeum don't just stand, they sing. Carved from solid limestone over 5,000 years ago, this underground temple hums with acoustic properties so precise they defy coincidence. Speak softly in its central chamber, and your voice resonates at exactly 110 Hz, a frequency scientists now know triggers brain activity linked to creativity and meditation. Walk deeper into the labyrinth, and the walls seem to whisper back, amplifying certain tones while cancelling others, as if the entire structure were tuned like a colossal instrument. This isn't just architecture, it's a sonic blueprint, a carefully engineered soundscape that might hold secrets we're only beginning to decipher. What if these chambers weren't just spaces for ritual, but for resonance? Across the ancient world, from the echoing galleries of Chavin de Huanta in Peru to the domed temples of Myra in Turkey, builders sculpted stone to manipulate sound in ways that seem almost supernatural. At Newgrange in Ireland, a spiraling passageway acts as a natural waveguide, channeling voices into the central chamber with eerie clarity. In Greece's Epidaurus Theatre, a single coin dropped on stage can be heard perfectly from the highest seat, acoustic precision we'd struggle to replicate even with modern tech. These aren't happy accidents, they're evidence of a lost science where sound wasn't just heard but harnessed. Future archaeologists armed with laser vibrometers and AI-driven audio reconstruction might uncover something astonishing: that these temples aren't just buildings but recordings. Certain rock types, like the basalt columns of Ireland's Giant's Causeway or the quartz-rich granite of Egyptian temples, can vibrate for centuries, preserving faint traces of the frequencies they've absorbed. Imagine scanning a temple wall and extracting echoes of ceremonies performed millennia ago, chanting voices, drumbeats, even the rustle of robes, like playing back a groove etched into stone. The Maya already hinted at this possibility, carving glyphs that depict rulers speaking to their gods through resonance tubes. Could they have left behind vibrational messages, waiting for the right technology to replay them? But the most profound revelation might lie in how these sounds affect the human mind. Studies at the hypogeum show that its resonant frequencies align with theta brainwaves, states associated with deep meditation and vivid visions. Tibetan monks have long used specific tones in ritual singing bowls to induce trances, techniques eerily similar to the harmonic chambers of Malta. Or ancient priests using architecture as a tool for consciousness expansion, crafting spaces where sound itself became a doorway to the divine. If so, their greatest gift to the future might not be words or images, but frequencies, a language of vibration that bypasses intellect to speak directly to the soul. So the next time you step into an ancient temple, close your eyes and listen. The silence isn't empty. It's pregnant with echoes, a chorus of the past murmuring through stone. And someday, with the right tools, we might finally hear what it's been trying to tell us all along. The Parthenon's columns don't just hold up a roof, they whisper the secrets of the universe. Each curve, each spacing, follows the golden ratio with such precision that it feels less like architecture and more like frozen music. This divine proportion, found in everything from seashells to galaxies, wasn't just aesthetic for the ancient Greeks. It was a bridge between the earthly and the eternal, a mathematical signature they believed echoed the very fabric of creation. Step inside Cambodia's Angkor Wat, and you'll find the same language written in stone, fractal patterns repeating from the grandest spire down to the tiniest carving, mirroring the branching of trees or the flow of rivers. These weren't accidents, they were intentional, a way to encode nature's blueprints into temples meant to outlast civilizations. Sacred geometry wasn't just decorative, it was a survival strategy for knowledge. The builders of Chartres Cathedral in France embedded the Fibonacci sequence into its rose windows, knowing that even if their texts burned, the numbers would remain. Hindu temples took this further, designing entire complexes as 3D mandalas, where every corridor and spire corresponded to celestial maps or chakra points. These structures weren't just places of worship, they were textbooks in stone, teaching harmony between microcosm and macrocosm to anyone who could read their angles. Now imagine future researchers armed with quantum computers, mapping these geometries at scales we can't yet perceive. What if the swirls on a Mayan pyramid's facade aren't just art but equations? Or the labyrinthine floors of Gothic cathedrals conceal algorithms for energy flow? Already, scientists have found that certain temple layouts amplify electromagnetic fields at precise nodes, suggesting the ancients might have harnessed Earth's energy in ways we're only beginning to grasp. The more we study these patterns, the more they seem like a Rosetta Stone not for one language, but for the universal principles binding art, science, and spirit. The most tantalizing clue lies in the repetition. From the pyramids of Giza to the step temples of Mesopotamia, the same ratios and shapes appear across continents and eras, as if distant cultures were tapping into the same cosmic playbook. Were they independently discovering these truths, or did they inherit fragments of a lost science? The answer might lie in the geometry itself. When a Jain temple in India and a Gothic cathedral in France both encode the same mathematical constants, it hints at something deeper than coincidence, a dialogue across time, written in the silent language of shapes. So the next time you see a spiral on an ancient column or the perfect symmetry of a temple's floor plan, look closer. These aren't just designs, they're invitations to decode, to connect, to hear the past speaking in the timeless dialect of numbers and stars. And if we listen, we might find that the greatest mystery isn't how they built these wonders, but what they've been trying to tell us all along. Buried beneath temple floors and hidden in forgotten chambers, ancient civilizations left behind objects that feel less like artifacts and more like carefully wrapped parcels for the future. In the crypts of Egypt's Temple of Hathor, archaeologists uncovered sealed jars filled with rolled copper scrolls, text so delicate they couldn't be opened without crumbling, as if the priests knew only future technology could reveal their secrets. Halfway across the world, in a sealed chamber beneath Mexico's Temple of the Feathered Serpent, researchers found hundreds of polished spheres made of pyrite, arranged in patterns that mirror constellations. These weren't scattered offerings, they were placed with deliberate care, like a cosmic map waiting for someone to piece it together centuries later. Then there's the Antikythera mechanism, that baffling bronze device recovered from a shipwreck near a Greek temple site. Gears interlocking with precision that wouldn't be matched until the Renaissance, tracking planetary movements and eclipses with staggering accuracy. For decades, scholars assumed it was an anomaly, a lone stroke of genius lost to time. But what if it wasn't? Recent scans reveal inscriptions on its fragments that suggest it was one of many, a piece of a larger tradition of mechanical knowledge. Imagine future archaeologists uncovering similar devices still sealed in temple vaults, untouched by salt water or corrosion, their gears frozen mid-calculation like paused clocks just waiting to tick again. The strangest part, some of these objects seem designed to outlast everything around them. Take the clay tablets of Mesopotamia, baked to hardness in library fires that were meant to destroy them, only to preserve their cuneiform messages for millennia. Or the Jain temples of India, where hollow statues contain time capsules of seeds, metals, and parchments, labeled in scripts no one alive can fully decipher. These aren't random acts of preservation. They're systemic, as if entire cultures agreed. If our words survive, maybe our wisdom will too. Now consider what we might be missing. Current technology can't safely unroll the carbonized scrolls of Herculaneum's library, their ink fused to ash by volcanic heat. But future tools, nanoscale scanners or AI that reconstructs fragmented texts could unlock them, revealing treatises on astronomy or engineering we thought were lost. Even more tantalizing are the materials we've dismissed as too fragile. Silk maps in Chinese tomb chambers, mercury pools beneath Aztec pyramids, or the rumored crystal tablets said to lie beneath certain Egyptian temples. If these exist, they wouldn't just rewrite history, they'd prove ancient builders were thinking in epochs, not just generations. So were these objects gifts, warnings, or simply breadcrumbs left for the curious? A jar of seeds buried beneath a temple might say, "This fed us when the rains failed." A geared mechanism tracking celestial cycles could whisper, "Heed the sky, it holds patterns you'll need." The deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes. These temples weren't just houses of worship. They were vaults designed to keep their most vital knowledge safe until the world was ready to receive it. And if we're the ones who finally open them, we might find that the past wasn't just speaking to itself, it was speaking to us. The myths etched into temple walls might be more than just stories. They could be time capsules of another kind. Take the Hindu concept of the four yugas, vast cycles spanning millions of years, where civilizations rise, fall, and eventually return to golden ages. These aren't just poetic metaphors, they're meticulously calculated epochs, each with its own markers of technological and spiritual evolution. The ancient texts describe future eras so vividly, flying machines called vimanas, energy weapons akin to lasers, that scholars debate whether they're allegories or encrypted forecasts. Now imagine a future anthropologist comparing these descriptions with rediscovered temple artifacts. What if those myths were actually blueprints, waiting for a society advanced enough to recognize them as truth? The Maya took this further. Their long count calendar didn't just track time, it predicted it. Carved into stelae at Kapon and Palenque are dates stretching thousands of years beyond their civilization's collapse, aligning with celestial events they couldn't possibly have witnessed. When their calendar ended in 2012, the world braced for apocalypse. But what if the Maya weren't forecasting doom? Their inscriptions speak of transformation, not destruction, a rebirth of knowledge. Future researchers armed with AI might decode subtle patterns in these carvings, finding correlations between mythic narratives and astronomical phenomena we've yet to experience. Then there are the Hopi prophecies passed down through oral tradition and petroglyphs. Their stories describe a series of worlds, each destroyed and reborn, with clues left behind for the next cycle. One prophecy speaks of a gourd of ashes falling from the sky, a description hauntingly similar to nuclear explosions. Another tells of rediscovering ancient stone tablets hidden beneath sacred sites, inscribed with lost wisdom. These aren't vague omens, they're startlingly specific, as if the Hopi were leaving breadcrumbs for a future tribe of archaeologists. What unites these traditions is their cyclical view of time. Unlike our linear progression, many ancient cultures saw history as a spiral, where truth repeats and knowledge resurfaces. The Egyptian Edfu texts describe a primordial flood that wiped out an advanced civilization, urging survivors to preserve their science in temple vaults. The Babylonian Enuma Elish recounts gods returning periodically to reset humanity. Even Plato's tale of Atlantis frames it as a cautionary beacon for future seafarers. So were these myths mere folklore or encrypted survival guides? Future scholars might uncover layers of meaning we've missed. A symbol dismissed as decorative could be a technical diagram. A creation story might hold geological data about past cataclysms, warning of patterns yet to repeat. The key lies in cross-referencing, matching temple inscriptions with soil samples, aligning oral histories with climate records, even scanning myths for mathematical constants hidden in their syllable counts. The most profound revelation wouldn't be that ancients predicted the future, but that they planned for it. These stories feel less like prophecies and more like letters cast into the cosmic ocean, addressed to whoever might someday understand their language. And if we're the generation that finally pieces it together, we might find they weren't just talking about their time. They were talking about ours. The vitrified stones of Sacsayhuamon don't just sit atop that Peruvian hillside, they glow. When sunlight hits their fused surfaces just right, the granite seems to shimmer, as if the very rock had been melted and reformed like glass. This isn't natural weathering. These stones were subjected to such intense heat that their crystalline structure transformed, creating a material harder and more erosion-resistant than the surrounding bedrock. The same phenomenon appears in Scotland's Iron Age forts and Turkey's Hittite temple sites, where ancient builders somehow harnessed temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius to forge stone that would outlast empires. Conventional archaeology chalks it up to accidental fires, but the precision of the vitrification tells another story. These stones weren't just burned. They were engineered, their surfaces deliberately altered to repel time itself. Then there's Delhi's Iron Pillar, standing rust-free for over 1,600 years despite monsoons and pollution. Modern metallurgists were stunned to discover its secret: a thin, protective layer of crystalline iron hydrogen phosphate formed through a process we've only recently replicated in labs. This wasn't luck, it was advanced alloy science, a recipe lost for centuries. The pillar's inscription even hints at intentional design, boasting it was erected to last as long as the sun and moon endure. Across the globe, the Romans mixed volcanic ash with lime to create concrete that actually strengthens in seawater, while the builders of Cambodia's Angkor Wat infused their mortar with organic compounds that resist microbial decay. These weren't just construction choices, they were time capsules in material form. Now imagine future scientists analyzing these materials at the nanoscale. Some researchers theorize that crystalline structures in certain temple stones could encode information, much like how we store data in synthetic quartz today. The basalt columns of Ireland's Giant's Causeway, with their hexagonal symmetry, might hold vibrational patterns detectable with atomic force microscopy, echoes of rituals or acoustic frequencies recorded in the stone's atomic lattice. Even more intriguing, the magnetic anomalies found in Andean temples, where certain walls emit measurable energy fields. Were these properties accidental, or did ancient architects understand how to align minerals with Earth's geomagnetic currents to create self-sustaining structures? The most compelling evidence lies in the choices they didn't make. At Göbekli Tepe, builders hauled massive limestone pillars from quarries miles away when softer, local stone was abundant. The Maya imported jade for ceremonial objects despite its impractical hardness. Why? Because these materials weren't selected for convenience, they were chosen for permanence. Jade resists chemical change for millions of years. Limestone develops a protective patina. Even the gold sheathing on Egyptian obelisks served a purpose beyond splendor. Gold is virtually indestructible, immune to tarnish or corrosion. So were these temples built to communicate across millennia. The materials suggest a startling possibility that ancient architects didn't just hope their work would survive. They knew it would, and hidden within the atomic structures of these stones might be messages we're only beginning to decode, not carved on surfaces, but woven into the very fabric of the materials themselves, waiting for the day our technology could finally read them. Artificial intelligence is already reshaping how we understand the whispers of the past. Picture this: a neural network trained on thousands of ancient scripts begins connecting dots between fragmented inscriptions from Easter Island and proto-writing systems in the Indus Valley. Patterns emerge, subtle similarities in stroke sequences, recurring symbol clusters that human eyes might never catch across such vast distances and time. This isn't science fiction. Projects like Google's DeepMind have already demonstrated how machine learning can restore damaged Greek texts with startling accuracy, filling in missing letters by analyzing context the way a scholar might, only faster, and with the ability to cross-reference millions of examples in seconds. The real breakthrough lies in AI's capacity to think beyond human biases. For centuries, linguists struggled with the Voynich manuscript, that cryptic medieval tome filled with alien botany and unreadable script. Traditional approaches assumed it was coded language or a forgotten dialect. But what if the key wasn't linguistic at all? Recent algorithmic analyses suggest the text might be a form of visual cryptography, where the shapes themselves hold meaning independent of spoken language. An AI trained on global symbolic systems, from alchemical diagrams to indigenous sign languages, could uncover connections no single human specialist would ever think to explore. Even more transformative is AI's potential to predict where undiscovered sites might lie. By feeding satellite imagery, soil composition data, and known archaeological coordinates into deep learning models, researchers in Guatemala recently identified over 60,000 hidden Maya structures beneath jungle canopy. The AI wasn't just matching patterns, it was learning the subtle environmental signatures ancient builders favored, specific elevations near water sources, particular alignments with geological features. Apply this globally, and we might discover that temples aren't isolated marvels, but nodes in a vast, interconnected network designed to mirror celestial or terrestrial patterns. But the most profound application could be linguistic resurrection. Imagine an algorithm reconstructing Proto-Indo-European, the mother tongue of half the world's languages, not through guesswork but by simulating millennia of phonetic shifts and grammatical evolution. Or consider an AI that listens to the acoustic properties of Egyptian sarcophagi, their resonant frequencies, their harmonic intervals, and reconstructs the long-lost music of the pyramids. These tools wouldn't just translate the past, they'd let us experience it. The challenge, of course, is teaching machines to ask the right questions. An AI can detect that certain symbols at Göbekli Tepe appear more frequently during periods of climatic instability, but only human curiosity can ponder whether those carvings were prayers, warnings, or survival manuals. The synergy lies in partnership, AI as the ultimate pattern recognition engine, archaeologists as the interpreters of what those patterns mean for our shared human story. Perhaps one day, these technologies will reveal that the greatest code left by ancient civilizations wasn't carved in stone at all. It's the collective memory of humanity itself, waiting in fragments across the globe, and with AI, we might finally piece it together. Deep within temple vaults and sealed chambers, ancient civilizations may have left us something far more personal than stone carvings, biological time capsules, waiting to be unlocked. Beneath the Temple of the Sun in Peru, archaeologists discovered a hidden cache of seeds, carefully preserved alongside golden artifacts as if they were equally precious. These weren't just offerings, they were genetic snapshots of crops that fed entire civilizations, stored in conditions that kept them viable for centuries. Now imagine future scientists using advanced sequencing to resurrect these lost varieties, uncovering drought-resistant grains or medicinal plants with properties we've forgotten. The implications are staggering. Temples could be arks, safeguarding the very building blocks of life for future generations, but seeds might just be the beginning. In Egyptian tombs, traces of ancient DNA cling to burial artifacts, revealing not just the lineage of pharaohs but entire microbial ecosystems that thrived alongside them. Some researchers believe certain chambers were designed as sterile environments, slowing decay to preserve genetic material intentionally. The Mayans took this further, embedding organic compounds into ceremonial objects, resins, plant extracts, even blood, creating biological signatures that could one day be decoded like molecular messages. What if these weren't just ritual remnants but deliberate deposits, like a genetic library card catalogued in temple stone? The most tantalizing possibility lies in microbial murals. Recent studies show that certain temple paints contain extremophiles, microbes capable of surviving for millennia in dormant states. These organisms aren't random contaminants. They're species specifically adapted to harsh, dry environments, almost as if they were selected for longevity. Future biotechnologists might extract their DNA, reconstructing ancient microbiomes that could reveal everything from forgotten fermentation techniques to symbiotic relationships with medicinal plants. Some temples even contain hollow statues filled with unknown substances. Could these vessels hold dormant cultures, waiting for the right conditions to revive? Then there's the ultimate frontier, encoded biological data. Modern science can already store digital information in synthetic DNA strands. What if ancient priests used similar principles, weaving genetic sequences into ritual textiles or even the growth patterns of sacred groves? The Hindu Vedas describe soma, a divine plant lost to time, while Egyptian texts speak of trees of life with miraculous healing properties. Were these metaphors or precise descriptions of species preserved in temple gardens, their seeds passed down like heirloom code? As biotechnology advances, we might discover that the greatest treasures hidden in these temples aren't gold or jewels, but living legacies. A single seed could reintroduce a vanished ecosystem. A strand of DNA might reconnect broken branches of human ancestry. And if we're listening closely, the whispers of the past could bloom anew, not just in stone, but in life itself. Stretching across Peru's desert like a celestial fingerprint, the Nazca lines have baffled researchers for generations. These massive geoglyphs, some stretching over 1,000 feet, depict spiders, hummingbirds, and geometric shapes so precise they can only be fully appreciated from the air. But what if their purpose wasn't meant for human eyes at all? Some researchers propose these desert etchings align with star patterns visible during specific epochs, acting as a cosmic clock or even a landing grid for beings beyond our world. The idea isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. Ancient cultures worldwide shared eerily similar myths of sky visitors bringing knowledge, from the Dogon people's precise astronomical lore of Sirius to Sumerian carvings of winged figures delivering wisdom. Could these stories be more than mythology? Could they be records of encounters encoded in temple alignments and earthworks? Take the Temple of the Sun at Teotihuacan. Its layout mirrors our solar system's planetary orbits with uncanny accuracy, yet it predates modern astronomy by centuries. Even stranger, the pyramid's dimensions correspond to Earth's measurements at a scale that shouldn't have been calculable without advanced tools. Meanwhile, in Cambodia, the temples of Angkor Wat align with the constellation Draco in a configuration that would have required knowledge of the precession of equinoxes. a slow wobble in Earth's axis that takes 26,000 years to complete. How could builders have known these celestial details without telescopes or mathematical models we associate with modern science? The most compelling evidence might lie in the materials themselves. The stone used in Bolivia's Pumapunku displays precision cuts and drill holes that suggest machining techniques millennia ahead of their time. Some blocks interlock with such tight tolerances that not even a razor blade can slip between them, a feat modern engineers struggle to replicate without laser tools. Even more puzzling are the vitrified surfaces found at certain sites where stone appears melted by extreme heat, a phenomenon consistent with high-energy tools or even plasma-based technology. If these weren't the work of human hands alone, what forces or beings might have guided their construction? Future archaeologists armed with quantum sensors or interstellar communication tech might uncover something revolutionary, that these temples aren't just aligned with stars, but with specific extraterrestrial coordinates. The Dogon's knowledge of Sirius B, a white dwarf invisible to the naked eye, hints at this possibility. Their oral traditions describe a dense, tiny star orbiting Sirius centuries before telescopes confirmed its existence. Similarly, the Maya's Dresden Codex contains detailed tables tracking Venus's cycles down to the hour, calculations so precise they rival modern astronomy software. These aren't lucky guesses, they're data points perhaps relayed from sources beyond Earth. The implications are staggering. If proof emerged that ancient temples were designed as interstellar messaging systems or homing beacons, it wouldn't just rewrite history, it would redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. Suddenly, myths of gods descending from the heavens would read less like folklore and more like eyewitness accounts. The Great Pyramid's alignment to Orion's belt might not be symbolic but functional, a cosmic address etched in stone. Even the Nazca lines could transform from mysterious art into a galactic handshake, saying, "We were here, we are waiting." As technology advances, we edge closer to decoding these puzzles. LiDAR reveals hidden chambers beneath pyramids that could hold artifacts or inscriptions pointing skyward. AI analyzes mythic texts across cultures, finding overlapping descriptions of star teachers that defy coincidence. And radio telescopes scan the very constellations these temples mirror, listening for echoes of contact. Whether these connections prove extraterrestrial or simply reveal lost human genius, one truth remains: the ancients built with their eyes on the stars. And if we follow their gaze, we might discover they left us not just monuments, but a map, one that leads beyond Earth, beyond time, and into the infinite. What happens when the past stops whispering and starts warning? Imagine future archaeologists breaking the seal on a hidden chamber, only to find inscriptions predicting global cataclysms or blueprints for technology too powerful to control. The ethical dilemma isn't science fiction, it's a collision course we might face sooner than we think. Take the legendary Curse of the Pharaohs, long dismissed as superstition. But what if those warnings carved into tomb walls weren't just threats, but genuine cautions? Modern studies reveal some sealed chambers contain toxic molds or trapped gases, suggesting ancient builders may have known exactly how to protect their secrets from reckless intruders. The stakes get even higher with potential knowledge vaults. The Hindu epic Mahabharata describes weapons called Brahmastras, capable of leveling cities, details so precise that scholars debate whether they're metaphors or encrypted instructions. If a temple chamber contained schematics for such technology, who gets to decide whether to reconstruct it? Governments, scientists, spiritual leaders. The question mirrors our own debates over nuclear energy harnessing immense power while risking unintended consequences. Even seemingly benign discoveries could spiral. Imagine unearthing an ancient agricultural technique that inadvertently disrupts modern ecosystems, or a medicinal plant whose properties defy current ethical guidelines. Then there's the Pandora's box scenario, mechanisms best left dormant. At Turkey's Mount Nemrut, seismic readings suggest hollow chambers beneath colossal stone heads, some emitting faint electromagnetic pulses. Could these be ancient energy devices or even triggers for larger systems? The Maya's Dresden Codex contains eclipse tables accurate for millennia, but also glyphs warning of sky fire tied to specific celestial alignments. If activating a temple's hidden function risks unintended planetary effects, does curiosity outweigh caution? The deeper question isn't just can we unlock these secrets, but should we? Future societies might need protocols as rigorous as those governing biohazard labs or nuclear archives. Perhaps some doors require collective consensus to open, or thresholds of scientific maturity to cross. After all, the ancients didn't just build these temples to be found, they built them to be understood by those truly ready, and that readiness might be the greatest test of all. Modern time capsules might seem like a quirky tradition, burying shoeboxes of newspapers and photographs for future generations, but they share an uncanny resemblance to the ancient impulse that built temples as messages across millennia. The Voyager Golden Record, launched into space in 1977, carries greetings in 55 languages and sounds of Earth encoded on a gold-plated copper disc. It's not so different from the polished jade plaques the Maya placed beneath their pyramids, inscribed with star maps and dynastic histories meant to outlast the spoken word. Both are acts of faith, trusting that someone someday will find them and understand. The parallels run deeper than materials. Modern time capsules often include everyday objects, coins, letters, even smartphones, to snapshot contemporary life. Ancient builders did the same, sealing pottery shards, seeds, and tools in temple foundations. In 2015, construction workers renovating Boston's Old State House uncovered a time capsule from 1795 containing coins and newspapers. Compare that to the foundation deposits in Egyptian temples, copper models of tools, beads, and inscribed plaques placed beneath cornerstones, not for ritual but as a record of the moment. Whether it's stainless steel or limestone, the instinct is identical to say, this is who we were. Yet there's a crucial difference. Modern capsules often prioritize sentiment over survival. Many are buried in flimsy containers, vulnerable to moisture and decay, with opening dates set for mere decades ahead. The ancients thought bigger. The builders of Göbekli Tepe didn't just inter artifacts, they buried entire temples under tons of earth, preserving them intact for 12,000 years. The message wasn't just in the objects but the architecture itself, designed to withstand epochs. Today's archivists are catching up. The Human Document Project in Norway is carving linguistic and scientific knowledge onto nickel alloy plates, rated to last 1,000,000 years, while underground vaults in the Arctic preserve global crop seeds against catastrophe. Suddenly, our efforts start to mirror the patience of those who built for the far future. The most striking parallel lies in intention. The Crypt of Civilization, sealed in 1940 at Oglethorpe University, contains microfilm recordings and even a device to teach English, a deliberate effort to bridge knowledge gaps. That's exactly what the builders of Cambodia's Angkor Wat did when they carved Sanskrit instructions for maintaining the temple's hydraulic systems into its walls. Both assume a break in continuity, a dark age where knowledge could be lost. Whether it's a 20th century crypt or a 12th century temple, the goal is the same: to ensure that even if everything else crumbles, the essential truths survive. Perhaps the greatest lesson lies in what we choose to preserve. Modern capsules often focus on technology, flash drives, solar panels, while ancient ones emphasized celestial cycles and ecological wisdom. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault safeguards biodiversity, much like the seed caches beneath Mesopotamian ziggurats, but where we archive data, they enshrined harmony, temple alignments that teach solstice calculations, murals depicting sustainable farming. Maybe that's the dialogue we're meant to hear, not just we were here, but here's how we thrived. So the next time you see a time capsule, think bigger. It's not just a novelty, it's the latest chapter in humanity's oldest conversation. And if we design them with the same foresight as the ancients, our messages might still be speaking long after the temples have crumbled. The stones of Pumapunku don't just fit together, they defy logic. Nestled high in the Bolivian Andes, this ancient temple complex showcases blocks carved with geometric precision so exact they interlock without mortar, their edges sharp enough to slice paper even after centuries of weathering. Modern engineers have tried to recreate these cuts using traditional tools and failed. The angles are too perfect, the surfaces too smooth, as if the builders possessed technology we've yet to rediscover. Some blocks even feature drill holes so uniform, they suggest the use of machine-like tools in an era long before industrialization. This isn't just skilled craftsmanship, it's a mystery that could rewrite our understanding of ancient innovation. Consider the implications if future researchers crack this code. The granite and diorite stones at Pumapunku are among the hardest on Earth, yet they were shaped with an ease that baffles geologists. Today, cutting such materials requires diamond-tipped saws or high-pressure water jets. How did ancient artisans achieve similar results without these tools? One theory points to vibrational cutting, a technique where ultra-precise frequencies soften stone momentarily, allowing it to be shaped like clay. Experiments with modern ultrasonic tools have shown this is possible, hinting that lost acoustic or vibrational technologies might have been employed millennia ago. Even more intriguing are the temple's modular designs. The blocks at Pumapunku resemble prefabricated components, standardized and mass-produced like modern construction materials. Each piece fits multiple configurations, suggesting a level of architectural planning akin to contemporary engineering. The Mayans used similar principles at Decode, where stone lintels were carved off-site and assembled with pinpoint accuracy. If these methods could be reverse-engineered, they might inspire sustainable building techniques, structures that endure earthquakes and time without concrete or steel. The real breakthrough, though, may lie in the materials themselves. Recent analysis of mortar from the Great Pyramid revealed it contains synthetic compounds with self-healing properties, a nanotechnology we're only beginning to understand. Roman concrete, submerged in seawater for 2,000 years, grows stronger over time thanks to a reactive mineral called aluminous tobamorite. These aren't accidents, they're recipes carefully guarded and passed down through generations. Future labs might isolate these formulas, leading to eco-friendly alternatives to modern cement, which accounts for 8% of global CO2 emissions. But the greatest lesson from these temples isn't just about technology, it's about mindset. Ancient builders thought in scales we often neglect, structures meant to last 10,000 years, materials chosen for their atomic stability, designs that harmonize with natural forces rather than resist them. In an age of disposable infrastructure, their approach feels almost revolutionary. Unlocking their secrets wouldn't just give us new tools, it might redefine how we build, how we preserve, and ultimately how we endure. The rising tides lapping at the foundations of Cambodia's Anka Wat aren't just eroding stone, they're erasing history. As climate change accelerates, ancient temples face threats our ancestors never imagined. Saltwater corroding carvings, desert sands swallowing entire complexes, and acid rain dissolving millennia-old inscriptions. The very structures built to outlast empires now stand on a fragile front line, their survival measured in decades rather than centuries. Future archaeologists might find themselves in a race against time, not just to decode these sites, but to save them from vanishing entirely. Consider the irony. Many of these temples were designed as climate-resistant time capsules built on elevated platforms to avoid floods, oriented to harness natural ventilation, or constructed with materials chosen for their durability. The Maya engineered elaborate water management systems at Tikal, with reservoirs that could sustain thousands during droughts. The Egyptians lined temple walls with hydrophobic materials to repel moisture. These weren't just architectural choices, they were lessons in resilience embedded in stone for future civilizations facing similar crises. Now, as rising sea levels threaten coastal sites like Greece's Delos or India's Sun Temple at Konark, researchers are uncovering something astonishing. Some temples might hold climate solutions encoded in their very designs. The stepwells of Rajasthan, for example, aren't just stunning feats of engineering, they're blueprints for groundwater recharge. They're tiered structures designed to maximize water collection during monsoons while minimizing evaporation in droughts. Similarly, the wind catchers of Persia's ancient temples functioned as passive cooling systems, funneling breezes through underground chambers to create natural air conditioning without a watt of electricity. The urgency to preserve these sites goes beyond cultural heritage. LiDAR scans of collapsed Mayan cities reveal sophisticated terracing techniques that prevented soil erosion methods that could revolutionize modern agriculture in vulnerable regions. Even the orientation of certain temples, like Egypt's Abu Simbel, aligns with solar events that once helped predict Nile floods, offering clues about historical climate patterns we've yet to fully decipher. But time is running out. The same forces that preserved these structures for millennia, dry desert air, stable temperatures, isolation, are being undone by human activity. In Mali, the Great Mosque of Djenné, the world's largest adobe structure, crumbles under increasingly erratic rainfall. In Peru, El Niño-driven storms wash away Nazca lines faster than archaeologists can document them. The race isn't just to study these sites, it's to learn from them before their secrets are lost forever. Perhaps the most profound message these temples hold isn't carved in glyphs or hidden in chambers, but woven into their very existence. They stand as proof that civilizations before us faced, and sometimes overcame, environmental collapse. The question is no longer just what these structures can teach us about the past, but whether we'll heed their warnings in time to salvage the future. Imagine walking through the Temple of Karnak not as a crumbling ruin, but in its full glory, painted pillars gleaming in the sun, priests chanting in shadowed corridors, and the scent of incense hanging thick in the air. This isn't fantasy. With advances in 3D scanning and virtual reality, future archaeologists might do exactly that, reconstructing lost worlds with pixel-perfect precision. Already, teams using photogrammetry have mapped Petra's Alcosne down to millimeter accuracy, revealing tool marks and weathering patterns invisible to the naked eye. These digital twins aren't just pretty replicas, they're analytical powerhouses, letting researchers test theories in ways physical ruins never allow. Want to see how sunlight interacted with a temple's inner sanctum during the summer solstice 3,000 years ago? Adjust the simulation's latitude, time of day, and atmospheric conditions. Then watch as beams of light trace paths no living person has witnessed for centuries. The magic lies in the layers. Just as doctors use MRI scans to peer beneath skin and bone, archaeologists now employ LiDAR and ground-penetrating radar to strip away accumulated dirt, vegetation, and even later construction phases. At Rome's Basilica of San Giovanni in Laterano, digital peeling revealed fresco fragments hidden beneath Renaissance overpainting ghostly echoes of the original 4th century church. In Cambodia, similar techniques exposed a sprawling urban network beneath Angkor Wat's jungle canopy, rewriting our understanding of the Khmer Empire's scale. Future tools will go further, using AI to predict missing architectural elements based on global pattern recognition, or even simulating how pigments faded over time to restore original color schemes with scientific confidence. But the real breakthrough comes when these reconstructions converse with each other. Imagine linking digital models of Egypt's Luxor temple with Karnak's, then animating the Opet festival procession along the ancient avenue that connected them. Suddenly, static stones tell a dynamic story, one where movement, sound, and spatial relationships reveal meanings text alone can't convey. Researchers at Pompeii have already experimented with this, overlaying VR reconstructions with thermal data to show how hypocaust heating systems distributed warmth through villas. The next step, integrating biometric feedback to study how these spaces affected human perception. Did the echoing chambers of Malta's hypogeum induce trance states through acoustics alone? Wear a VR headset with pulse monitoring, and we might finally know. The implications stretch beyond archaeology. Climate scientists could model how rising sea levels will impact coastal ruins, while engineers might reverse engineer earthquake-resistant techniques from digitally stress-testing ancient structures. Even the public gains unprecedented access. Schoolchildren in Seoul can don VR goggles to enter Giza's Great Pyramid, while historians in Buenos Aires collaborate in real time on a shared holographic model of Machu Picchu. These technologies don't just preserve the past, they democratize it, turning every temple into a classroom without borders. Yet the most profound application remains undiscovered. Future algorithms might cross-reference thousands of reconstructed sites to spot hidden commonalities, a recurring architectural ratio hinting at lost mathematical knowledge, or celestial alignments forming a global navigation system. Like putting together a planetary-scale jigsaw puzzle, we could uncover connections our ancestors intentionally wove into stone, waiting for the day when technology would let us see the full picture. And when that day comes, these digital temples won't just show us how things looked, they'll whisper why they were built that way in the first place. The moment humanity unlocks a message deliberately left for us across millennia, the ground beneath our collective feet would shift not physically but psychologically. Imagine standing before a temple wall where glyphs suddenly resolve into a warning about climate cycles or a description of technologies we've only just reinvented. The realization that ancient builders anticipated our existence, our struggles, even our curiosity, would ripple through societies like an intellectual earthquake. For some, it might spark a renaissance of wonder, reconnecting us with a sense of shared humanity across time. For others, it could upend foundational beliefs about progress, religion, or even our place in the cosmos. Consider the parallels to past paradigm shifts. When Copernicus proved Earth wasn't the center of the universe, it didn't just change astronomy. It shattered medieval worldviews, triggering existential crises and artistic revolutions. The discovery of prehistoric cave paintings in Lascaux forced us to confront the sophistication of our ancient ancestors, rewriting timelines of human creativity. Now amplify that impact 1,000-fold. Decoding a message meant specifically for our era wouldn't just be an archaeological breakthrough, it would be a mirror held up to civilization, revealing how much or how little we've truly evolved. The emotional spectrum would be vast. Scientists might oscillate between exhilaration and humility, realizing that concepts we consider cutting-edge quantum physics, genetic engineering, could have roots in forgotten wisdom. Spiritual communities could fracture or unite, debating whether the messages validate sacred texts or demand new interpretations. Governments might scramble to control the narrative, wary of how such revelations could destabilize economies or power structures built on certain historical assumptions. And for the average person, it could feel like receiving a letter from a great-grandparent you never knew existed, one filled with advice, warnings, or even prophecies that force you to reconsider your life's trajectory. The most profound impact, though, might be temporal. Modern society operates on short cycles, news cycles, election cycles, quarterly prophets. These messages would thrust us into deep time, making the past feel alive and the future tangible in ways we've never experienced. Climate activists might gain unexpected allies when confronted with a 4,000-year-old inscription detailing ecological collapse. Space exploration could take on new urgency if temple carvings hint at celestial events yet to unfold. Even personal lives might transform. How differently would we approach education, parenthood, or legacy if we knew our actions were part of a conversation spanning millennia? Yet amid the awe, there would be shadows. What if the messages contain uncomfortable truths, evidence of lost civilizations that crumbled from the same hubris we're repeating? Or worse, warnings about existential threats we've ignored. The Mayas' meticulous tracking of planetary cycles suggests they understood time as cyclical, with eras ending and beginning in cataclysm. Discovering they'd encoded precise dates for future upheavals could trigger global anxiety or mobilize unprecedented cooperation. History shows us that humanity's response to paradigm shifts is never uniform. The printing press birthed both enlightenment and inquisitions. The internet democratized knowledge while amplifying disinformation. A message from the past would be no different, a prism refracting our hopes, fears, and divisions in dazzling, unpredictable ways. Perhaps the greatest revelation wouldn't be the message itself, but the realization that we've always been part of something vaster. These temples may not just be relics, but waypoints in an ongoing dialogue, one where we're not the first to ask big questions and won't be the last. Whether that thought comforts or unsettles us depends less on the past than on how we choose to respond. After all, the most powerful time capsules aren't the ones buried in stone. They're the ones waiting to be awakened in us. Decoding the secrets of time-traveling temples isn't a task for any single expert. It demands a symphony of minds working in harmony. Historians might spot patterns in ancient inscriptions, while astrophysicists calculate celestial alignments lost to time. Material scientists could analyze the molecular structure of temple stones, revealing hidden properties, while linguists decode forgotten dialects etched into walls. Even artists play a crucial role, reconstructing faded murals or simulating how sunlight once danced across ceremonial chambers. This collaborative spirit mirrors the very civilizations we're studying, cultures that saw no boundary between astronomy and mythology, between engineering and sacred art. Take the mystery of the Dendera light bulbs, those enigmatic carvings in Egypt's Temple of Hathor. Electrical engineers debate whether they depict primitive lighting technology, while Egyptologists interpret them as symbolic representations of divine energy. Meanwhile, chemists analyze residue in nearby chambers for traces of conductive materials, and digital artists recreate the temple's original lighting conditions to test both theories. Without this cross-pollination of expertise, we'd miss the full picture, just as a single instrument can't capture the depth of an orchestra. The ancients understood this interconnectedness. Mayan astronomer priests tracked Venus not just for celestial navigation but to time's sacred rituals, blending mathematics with metaphysics. Hindu temple architects encoded complex fractal geometry into their designs, seeing no contradiction between spiritual symbolism and structural integrity. Even the Nazca lines, those sprawling desert geoglyphs, required surveyors, astronomers, and ritual specialists working in concert, a prehistoric think tank united by shared purpose. Modern technology amplifies this collaborative potential. Imagine a database where archaeologists upload 3D scans of temple inscriptions, AI linguists identify recurring symbol clusters, and climate scientists cross-reference findings with pollen samples from the same era. Or consider how virtual reality could let a team of experts scattered across continents stand together inside a digital reconstruction of Angkor Wat's hidden chambers, each contributing their unique lens to unravel its secrets. The breakthroughs won't come from isolated genius, but from the friction and fusion of diverse perspectives. Yet the greatest lesson might lie in the mindset this work cultivates. Just as the builders of Göbekli Tepe combined stonemasonry with celestial observation, today's researchers are learning to dissolve artificial barriers between disciplines. A physicist studying acoustic resonance in Maltese temples might stumble upon medical applications for sound therapy. An artist restoring Mayan frescoes could inadvertently uncover pigments with unexpected durability, inspiring new sustainable materials. When we approach these ancient puzzles with open curiosity, we don't just decode the past, we rediscover the holistic wisdom that modern specialization has obscured. The temples themselves seem designed for this very purpose. Their walls don't separate knowledge into categories but weave it together: astronomy into architecture, music into mathematics, spirituality into survival strategies. To hear their message, we must learn to listen the same way, not with divided expertise, but with the unified curiosity that turns a group of specialists into something far greater, a fellowship of time travelers bridging millennia through shared wonder. The next great breakthrough in decoding ancient temples might not come from a dusty university lab. It could arrive through the smartphone of a curious teenager halfway across the world. Imagine logging onto an app during your morning coffee and helping identify celestial alignments in Mayan ruins, or matching fragmented symbols from Angkor Wat to similar carvings in Egypt. This isn't science fiction. It's the dawn of a new era where archaeology becomes a global conversation, powered by everyday people with sharp eyes and shared curiosity. Already, platforms like Zooniverse have proven the power of crowdsourcing, where volunteers classify galaxy shapes or transcribe medieval manuscripts with accuracy rivaling experts. Apply this to temple mysteries, and suddenly millions of minds become a distributed supercomputer for the past. A farmer in Kenya might notice a weathering pattern on a temple facade that reveals hidden chambers. A retired engineer in Norway could spot mathematical sequences in pyramid dimensions that professionals overlooked. When the Rosetta Stone was deciphered, it took one brilliant linguist, but today, cracking ancient codes could become a team sport for humanity. The real magic happens when artificial intelligence amplifies these efforts. Future platforms might combine crowdsourced observations with machine learning, where every submitted photo of a temple carving trains algorithms to recognize patterns across cultures. Picture an open-source database where 3D scans of Göbekli Tepe's pillars are compared to symbols in Indus Valley seals by software that learns from each user's input. Suddenly, connections that would take a lone researcher decades emerge in weeks, as the collective intuition of thousands guides the algorithm toward breakthroughs. This democratization could also rescue vanishing knowledge. Indigenous communities often hold oral traditions about temple sites that never made it into academic papers. A crowdsourced platform allowing elders to annotate digital temple models with ancestral stories could preserve insights that would otherwise disappear. In Bali, local priests still perform rituals using astronomical alignments at water temples that match ancient inscriptions, knowledge that could help calibrate interpretations of similar sites worldwide. When archaeology listens to more voices, the past speaks more clearly. Of course, challenges remain. How do you verify amateur contributions without stifling innovation? One solution might be gamification, awarding credibility scores to users whose observations are consistently validated, or creating peer review systems where crowdsourced findings are tested against archaeological data. The key is balancing open access with rigorous standards, building a bridge between the academy and the public without diluting scientific integrity, the most exciting possibility. This collaborative approach mirrors the very spirit of the temples themselves. These structures were often communal projects, built by thousands of hands across generations. Decoding them shouldn't be an exclusive endeavor either. By inviting the world to join the search, we're not just solving puzzles, we're reigniting the shared human wonder that made these temples worth building in the first place. And in that collective effort, we might discover something even more profound, that the greatest secret hidden in ancient stones isn't meant for specialists or scholars, but for all of us. The pyramids of Giza don't just defy time, they seem to dance with it. Walk through their shadowed corridors and you might feel an eerie sense of dislocation, as if the boundary between past and present has grown thin. This isn't just poetic imagination. Quantum physics, the science of the impossibly small, suggests time might not flow in a straight line at all. Instead, it could ripple, fold, or even loop back on itself like a Möbius strip. If that's true, could ancient builders have understood or even harnessed these properties when they designed their temples? Consider the peculiar acoustic resonance inside Malta's hypogeum, where sound waves at certain frequencies create vibrations that seem to linger longer than physics should allow. Experiments in quantum acoustics show that under specific conditions, sound can exist in superposition, existing in multiple states at once, much like Schrödinger's famous cat, both alive and dead. Now imagine a temple chamber engineered to sustain these quantum vibrations, creating a space where time itself becomes fluid. Visitors report losing track of hours inside, emerging convinced mere minutes have passed. Coincidence or evidence of architecture designed to bend temporal perception? The math gets even stranger when you examine celestial alignments. The Mayan temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza casts a serpent-shaped shadow during equinoxes, a phenomenon that repeats with clockwork precision. But quantum entanglement, where particles remain connected across vast distances, hints that these alignments might not just mark time, but interact with it. If two photons can instantaneously affect each other light years apart, could a temple aligned to Sirius or Orion maintain a similar connection across millennia? The Dogon people of Mali, who knew of Sirius B's existence centuries before telescopes, described time as a spiral, not a line. Their rituals at aligned stone circles might have been less about worship and more about syncing with cosmic rhythms that transcend linear chronology. Then there's the mystery of materials. The vitrified stones at Sacsayhuaman, fused by heat we still can't replicate, exhibit crystalline structures that quantum physicists call time crystals, arrangements of atoms that repeat not in space but in time. These bizarre phases of matter defy entropy, the universal law that says disorder always increases. If ancient builders intentionally created or used such materials, their temples could theoretically resist decay not just physically but temporally. It would explain why some sites feel frozen, as if the wear of centuries slides off them like water off a lotus leaf. Skeptics argue these are fanciful connections, projecting modern science onto ancient symbols. But the sheer consistency across cultures is hard to dismiss. Hindu temples encode the concept of yugas, cycles of time spanning millions of years, while Egyptian texts speak of the Djed pillar, a symbol of stability that some interpret as representing a fixed point in time's flow. Even the layout of Stonehenge with its concentric rings mirrors quantum models of nested timelines. Whether by intuition or lost science, these builders seem to grasp that time wasn't the rigid arrow we assume. So what happens if we take this idea seriously? Future archaeologists armed with quantum sensors might discover that certain temples aren't just aligned to stars, they're entangled with them, their stones vibrating in sync with celestial bodies light years away. Or that hidden chambers act like cosmic capacitors, storing not energy, but temporal imprints, echoes of rituals or events that replay under the right conditions. The most radical possibility: these sites weren't just built to send messages forward in time, but to receive them backward, creating a two-way dialogue across epochs. The implications are dizzying. If time is indeed a fabric that can be folded, then every stone placed with intention, every alignment calculated to the arcsecond, might be part of a grander design, one where past, present, and future aren't separate threads but a single, shimmering tapestry. And if that's true, then the greatest secret of these temples isn't what they tell us about history, but what they reveal about the nature of existence itself. The stones have been whispering it all along. We're only just beginning to hear. To the builders of Cambodia's Angkor Wat, the temple wasn't just a structure, it pulsed with the breath of a sleeping giant. Its towers weren't stone but spines, its moats weren't water but blood. This wasn't metaphor. Inscriptions described rituals to awaken the temple, as if its walls held dormant energy waiting to be stirred. Across the globe, the Maori speak of Wariwa, the living essence woven into their meeting houses, while Hindu texts depict temples as prana-filled bodies, with gateways as mouths and pillars as limbs. These weren't poetic flourishes, they were precise descriptions of a reality modern science is only beginning to glimpse. Groundbreaking experiments in quantum biology now suggest that all matter, even stone, vibrates with subtle energy patterns. Crystals like quartz, commonly used in temple construction, can store and transmit electromagnetic signals, leading some researchers to theorize that sacred sites might function like cosmic batteries. At Egypt's Temple of Hathor, scans reveal electromagnetic anomalies in specific chambers, coinciding with where ancient priests placed healing statues. Coincidence or evidence of intentional energy architecture? Future tools like quantum gravimeters could map these invisible currents in real time, revealing if temples were designed as conduits for forces we're only now learning to measure. The most radical possibility lies in resonance. Studies at Malta's hypogeum show its underground chambers amplify specific frequencies that alter brainwave states. When visitors describe feeling the walls speak, they might be sensing vibrations at the edge of human perception. Advanced LiDAR has detected hollow cavities beneath Mayan pyramids arranged in Fibonacci spirals, a pattern found in everything from galaxies to DNA. If these cavities were tuned to cosmic frequencies, could the temples themselves be listening, their stones acting as antennas for energies beyond our current understanding? Perhaps the ultimate test will come with artificial intelligence. Neural networks trained on global temple acoustics might identify harmonic signatures common to sacred sites worldwide, a universal language of vibration. Imagine interfacing with Angkor Wat through quantum sensors, translating its energy fluctuations into patterns a computer could converse with. Would it share celestial data encoded in its alignments? Warning pulses about geological stresses in its foundations. The line between machine and mystic blurs when technology becomes the medium for structures to speak. Yet the most profound revelation might be ecological. Indigenous traditions from Japan to Peru describe temples as living parts of larger Earth systems. The moss-covered shrines of Nikko are said to bind with surrounding forests, their energy fluctuating with seasons. Modern biofeedback devices have detected similar phenomena, subtle electrical changes in temple stones during solstices or seismic activity. Were ancient builders creating symbiotic relationships between architecture and environment, where the temple wasn't just a building but an organ in Gaia's body? As we peel back these layers, one truth emerges. Our ancestors didn't just construct temples, they birthed them. And if future science confirms these sites pulse with dormant consciousness, we'll face a question far stranger than how they built them. We'll need to ask what they've been trying to tell us all this time. Imagine a future archaeologist kneeling before the ruins of Angkor Wat, holding a device we can't yet conceive, only to completely misread the story its stones tell. It's happened before. For centuries, scholars insisted Egyptian hieroglyphs were purely symbolic, until the Rosetta Stone revealed them as a complex mix of phonetic and ideographic script. Now flip that scenario forward. What if our own interpretations of ancient temples are just as flawed, constrained by the blinders of our era's assumptions and tools? Take the Nazca lines. Early researchers dismissed them as ritual pathways or astronomical calendars. Only when viewed from the air did their true scale and precision become apparent, yet we're still guessing at their purpose. Future scientists might face similar revelations with technologies we can't yet imagine. A temple's alignment dismissed as ceremonial could be part of a global energy grid. Symbols we label as mythical might represent advanced physics, waiting for a civilization that speaks their mathematical language. The gaps in our understanding aren't just missing pieces, they're chasms where entire worldviews could fit. Cultural bias runs deep. Victorian archaeologists saw primitive societies everywhere, missing the sophistication of Inca masonry or Polynesian navigation. Today, we risk the opposite, projecting our own technological hubris onto the past, interpreting every anomaly as evidence of lost superscience. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. Consider how easily we've misread ancient warnings. The Mayas' end date in 2012 sparked global panic about apocalypse, until linguists realized it marked a cyclical transition, not a termination. Future scholars might grapple with the same pitfalls, decoding our own time capsules through lenses we'd find alien. Technological limitations compound the problem. Current LiDAR can map jungle-shrouded cities but misses subtler details, pigments, textiles, or ephemeral materials that crumbled to dust. A future team using molecular archaeology might reconstruct scents from temple incense altars, revealing connections between sacred aromas and celestial events we've overlooked. Or they could misinterpret entirely. Without context, will they mistake a ceremonial headdress's feathers for flight technology? Assume medicinal herb gardens were alchemical labs? The line between revelation and misreading is razor thin, yet the greatest distortion might be temporal. We view history as linear progression, Stone Age to Space Age, but many ancient cultures saw time as cyclical. The Hindu concept of yugas, or the Aztec 5 suns, describes civilizations rising and falling in endless loops. Future archaeologists inheriting our linear mindset might miss these nuances, labeling repetitive patterns as coincidence rather than intentional design. A temple rebuilt identically after earthquakes could be seen as architectural stagnation, not a profound commitment to preserving form across millennia. The irony, These potential misinterpretations mirror the very challenges ancient builders anticipated. The Maya carved multiple calendar systems alongside their monuments, as if anticipating that one alone might not survive. The Egyptians layered hieroglyphs, hieratic, and demotic scripts in their temples, creating redundancy for future translators. Their solutions hint at a humility we do well to emulate, an acknowledgement that knowledge is fragile and understanding requires more than data. It demands wisdom, so as we decode the past, we're also writing the future's questions. Every assumption we inscribe in textbooks, every interpretation we digitize, becomes a lens through which tomorrow's scholars will peer back. Perhaps the most profound lesson these time-traveling temples offer isn't about their secrets, but about our own limitations and the boundless curiosity needed to transcend them. The idea of time-traveling temples does more than rewrite history. It redefines our relationship with time itself. These structures aren't just relics to be studied. They're active participants in a conversation that spans millennia, inviting us to listen as much as to uncover. Every alignment to a distant star, every resonance chamber humming at a precise frequency, feels like a deliberate attempt to reach across the ages and say, "We were here. We understood something profound, and we trusted you'd come looking." This shift turns archaeology from a science of the past into a collaboration with it. When researchers decode celestial patterns in Mayan temples or reconstruct the acoustic properties of Malta's hypogeum, they're not just solving puzzles, they're answering questions posed centuries ago. The builders of these sites didn't just want us to admire their work, they wanted us to engage with it, to tease out the threads of knowledge they wove into stone. It's as if they left behind a grand experiment. Will future civilizations recognize what we've hidden in plain sight? But this dialogue isn't one-sided. As we unravel their codes, we're forced to confront our own legacy. The temples challenge us to ask, what are we building that will endure? Our skyscrapers might scrape the sky, but will they whisper secrets to explorers 30 centuries from now? We've mastered storing data in the cloud, but what happens when the servers fade? The ancients chose materials and designs that outlasted languages, empires, even climate shifts. In an age of disposable technology, their approach feels almost revolutionary, a reminder that true permanence requires intention. Perhaps the most humbling realization is that we might still be missing the point. For all our LiDAR scans and AI reconstructions, we could be overlooking the simplest message of all. That time is not a barrier, but a bridge. These temples suggest that the people of the past saw themselves not as separate from the future, but as part of a continuum. The Maya carved dates thousands of years beyond their own era. The Egyptians aligned pyramids to stars they'd never lived to see in their predicted positions. They were planting trees whose shade they knew they'd never sit under. So what's next? The journey is far from over. Every breakthrough, a hidden chamber revealed, a celestial alignment decoded, opens new questions. And as technology advances, so does our ability to listen. Quantum sensors might one day detect energy patterns we can't yet perceive. AI could uncover linguistic connections across cultures we've never linked. The temples have been patient for thousands of years. They'll keep their secrets a little longer, waiting for the moment we're ready to understand. In the end, these time-traveling temples offer more than knowledge, they offer a mirror. They reflect back our curiosity, our ingenuity, and most of all, our shared humanity. Whether you're an archaeologist brushing dust off a glyph or a viewer marveling at these wonders from home, you're part of the conversation now. So tell us, what do you think these ancient builders were trying to say? And what message would you leave for the future? The comments are open and the dialogue is just beginning. Don't forget to subscribe, because history's greatest mysteries are still speaking if we're willing.